Hello class, today we're going to talk about section 7.8, which is looking at special products. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to identify these three special cases for binomial multiplication and use these shortcuts to solve. So our first special case is called the square of a sum. So I've got a plus b, and then outside I've got this exponent of 2, or I'm squaring it. So the shortcut for this, instead of writing it out and doing a plus b times a plus b and going through and doing FOIL, which is something that you could do, there is a shortcut for how to solve this problem. The shortcut formula is right here. So you're going to square the front number, so do a squared. Then you're going to do a times b and multiply by 2. That's this center part. And then you're going to add b squared onto the end. So this right here is our formula for the shortcut. So for example, I've got 8c plus 4d squared. So our a term, our first term, is 8c. So I'm going to square that number. 8 squared is 64, and c squared is c squared. So I've squared my first term. Then off to the side, I'm going to show a little work, and I've got the first term, which is a, so 8c times 4d times 2. So that's how I'm going to get my middle term, is multiplying these two pieces on the inside and then multiplying it by 2. So I've got 8c times 4d times 2. 8 times 4 is 32, times 2 is 64. So I'm going to add on 64 C, D. And then for the last part, I need to square my last term. So 4 squared is 16, and D squared is D squared. None of my terms match, so this right here is my final answer. Go ahead and try this one on your own. X squared gives you x squared. 3 times x is 3x times 2 gives us the 6x, and then 3 squared is 9. So my final answer is x squared plus 6x plus 9. Second case is very similar, but instead of being addition or the sum, we're now looking at the difference or subtraction. So it's the exact same process, but now, since you'll notice, this middle term is being subtracted. That's because we're going to do a times negative b times 2, which is giving us that middle term being negative. So, for example, I've got 6p minus 1 squared. Again, we're going to start by squaring this first term. So I've got 6 squared is 36, and then p squared. Off to the side, I've got 6p times negative 1 times 2. 6p times negative 1 is negative 6p. Times 2 gives me negative 12p. And then when I square that back term, negative 1 times negative 1 gives me a positive 1. So that square is still going to be adding, because when I square a negative, it becomes positive. Go ahead and try this one on your own. We've got x squared, and then we've got x times negative 4, which I just moved that negative to the front, so I've got 2 times negative 4x, which gives me negative 8x. And then I've got plus 4 squared, which is 16. Last one, we've got the product of a sum and a difference. So notice this is the same numbers here, a and a, b and b. One is addition and one is subtraction. So our shortcut for this is a squared minus b squared. This is because if I were to FOIL it out, I would have a squared, and then outside would give me minus ab, inside would give me plus ab, and last would give me minus b squared. So these inside pieces cancel each other out in FOIL, which is why we can just use our shortcut of a squared and b squared. So I've got 3n plus 2 and 3n minus 2. Same expressions, different signs. So all I have to do is square the first part. 3n squared is going to give me 9n squared. And then I'm going to subtract 2 times 2, or 2 squared, which is 4. So my final answer is 9n squared minus 4. Go ahead and try this one on your own. We got 4c squared minus 7d squared, which gives me 16c squared minus 49d squared. Lastly, we have a word problem. Alex has a garden with a length of g feet and a width of g feet. She wants to add 3 feet to each side. Show the area, or show the new area of the square of a binomial, and then find the sum of the square. So we're talking about her garden, which has length g and width g. She wants to add 3 feet onto each. So when it asks us to write this as a square of a binomial, our binomial is g plus 3, and that is what we are squaring. So now we can use our shortcut, and we end up with g squared plus, off to the side, I've got 3 times g times 2, which is going to give me plus 6g. And then I've got 3 squared, which is 9. So I end up with a final answer of g squared plus 6g plus 9. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.